There's a quiet shift that happens, slowly at first, then all at once. You begin to notice how familiar patterns suddenly feel unbearable, but it takes time to trust what is changing. You still say yes when you want to say no, arguing with the ache in your chest. It isn't because you've grown cold or selfish. It's that you can't unsee what you finally recognized. In The Undiscovered Self, this philosopher wrote clearly about this hunger for authenticity. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That sentence lands heavy for anyone stuck pretending, shrinking, bending themselves for other people's comfort. The moment you face the ache, you're caught between two worlds, one familiar and safe, but dull with compromise, one unknown, but alive with the risk of being seen. Every day feels like 1,000 small negotiations with yourself. At work, you nod along in meetings, biting your tongue when your real opinions flare. You hear yourself laughing at things that don't amuse you. You tell yourself it's easier this way, that you're protecting your peace, but it's a lie that trembles on your lips every time you agree to something that feels wrong inside. In relationships, the cost is sharper. You become the version of yourself that you think will be loved best. A mask slowly welds itself to your face. You say the right things, carefully editing your thoughts. But sometimes, in the quiet, your real voice rises up, startling you with its honesty. Even then, you shrink it down, hide it behind a joke or a nervous apology. You get good at this. Too good. Friends praise how easy you are, how well you fit in, how smooth you make everything feel. But in private, you scan their words for clues. What do they actually see? What tiny parts of yourself have you left outside the door? Here's a question nobody else can answer. Who would you be if you weren't afraid to disappoint anyone? This discomfort is not a sign that something is broken in you. It's an old survival strategy, pushed past its usefulness. Underneath it, there's a longing to be real, even if real means being messier, less liked, more alone. You carry a quiet rage for every time you made yourself small for someone else. Sometimes you suppress it so well, you forget how it started, but it gathers, relentless, inside your chest. You feel it during holidays with family when you perform your oldest role, echoing old stories that never quite fit anymore. You swallow your true opinions, bracing for the conversations that always loop back to the same unspoken rules. When you try to break the pattern, the silence that follows is louder than any argument. Not everyone will like the new version of you. Not everyone will stay. This is part of the loss. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, the philosopher warned what clarity really requires. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. There's danger here, but also a strange sense of freedom. As soon as you start examining your desires, the fantasies built on pleasing others begin to collapse. The person you crafted, so courteous, so palatable, no longer matches the person you're becoming. The split grows more painful each time you try to force them together. Sometimes you hope people will notice your unease and ask what's wrong, but most remain blissfully unaware. You begin to wonder if maybe you're overreacting, maybe you're just tired, but the dissonance only grows. The quiet moments feel accusatory now. Alone with your own thoughts, you sense how far you've drifted from yourself. You reach for dopamine, a drink, a new project at work, endless scrolling. Anything to drown out that low hum of something missing. The world does not reward the slow work of self-examination. It rewards the convenient, the agreeable, the quickly digestible version of you. But deep inside, you sense the risk of not changing at all. You see it in colleagues who live on autopilot, repeating the same year over and over. You see it in old friends who smother their own opinions with jokes that sting only themselves. You feel it in your body, a tension in your shoulders, a tightening in your jaw. Millions live with this discomfort. Very few ever confront it. Are you sure you want to be one of them? The urge to stay hidden can feel overwhelming some days. It masquerades as humility, as politeness, as being easy to get along with. But whenever you relinquish your own voice, a piece of you goes silent. Sometimes the cost is so gradual you barely notice it. Years pass. A quiet resignation settles in. The friendships feel thinner, the successes emptier. You sense a permission missing, the permission to disappoint, to be disliked, to be misunderstood. That's the moment of real risk. To belong to yourself, you might have to risk not belonging anywhere else. You start to examine the engine driving all this compliance. Is it fear of loneliness? A belief that worth must be earned through usefulness or charm? Or is it something deeper, a primal discomfort with the unknown? Every new habit of honesty carries a backlash. People expect the old you to return, and sometimes you do, just to keep the peace. But soon, even that surrender starts to feel unbearable. Here's the jolt. Sometimes, authentic living makes you lonelier at first, not less. That's the cost nobody advertises. Even as you begin to claim yourself, there's a strange nostalgia for the comfort of being liked, being agreeable, being known in a predictable way. The philosopher's words echo. Becoming yourself is a privilege, but also a burden. It's heavier than you imagined before you started walking this path. Some people will embrace the new, unvarnished you. Others will bristle or drift away, unable to recognize you outside the role you used to play. Not all friction is a sign you're on the wrong track. Sometimes, it's proof you're finally choosing your own direction. If you let yourself follow that ache, you might discover there's something bright beneath the fear, a willingness to risk honesty for the slim chance at real connection. But first, you have to decide the ache is worth facing, no matter who walks away. Carl Jung believed that the self we hide from others eventually hides from us too. When you strip away the careful act, the camouflage you've worn just to fit, a strange silence settles in your mind. What do you even want now, with no one else in the room to please? The rules that once kept you safe begin to feel meaningless, but discarding them doesn't mean you instantly know who you are without them. Every gesture of rebellion against your old patterns feels astonishingly loud, as if you're vandalizing something sacred. But what you're really shattering is a mask built from all those little daily concessions. The part of you that feared being unliked was right. There's rejection here, and maybe even emptiness. But then comes an unraveling you can't reverse. You stare at your life's architecture with suspicion. Was that dinner invite genuine warmth, or just habit? Did you laugh because something was funny, or because silence felt dangerous? There's nowhere left to hide from the answers, even if they cut. You might find yourself missing the comfort of automatic belonging, the way your phone glowed with messages that had nothing to do with the real you. Stripped of performance, your mind scrambles for anchors, old routines, old justifications, old ways to be needed. But now each of them rings hollow, a signal that they never truly fit. Do you notice how quickly you retreat into autopilot when discomfort spikes? That twitch of self-editing, so practiced, feels almost like self-preservation. Yet the longer you resist collapsing into your old shape, the more another feeling creeps in. Relief. No more rehearsed smiles, no more bargaining for a little warmth. but relief is fleeting because something else is coming into view. Here is the contradiction the thinker kept warning about. The battle for authenticity often pitches you against your deepest instincts. You want to belong, but only on your terms now. So you keep risking little fragments of truth, unsure how anyone will receive them. Sometimes that means nights alone or friendships fading into polite silence. You question everything you once tolerated, and new grievances insist on being aired. You might even become intolerant of your own excuses. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, he slices to the heart of it. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. The old roles were never really home. They were furniture in someone else's house. And now you've set fire to them. People will tell you this is selfish, difficult, dangerous. But what if the real danger lurks in the act of suppressing what truly drains you? If you swallow your needs long enough, you lose the ability to recognize them at all. The urge to shrink or placate is often just camouflage for fear. Fear that the real you will not survive exposure. This is not just anxiety about being alone. It is terror that, without compromise, you will vanish, a ghost at the edge of every gathering. You start to test the boundaries of your new skin. How far can you go before regret chases you back to your old performance? How much of yourself will you sacrifice just to feel briefly secure? When the habits of compliance finally split, the shock wave can fracture everything you thought gave your life stability. Think very carefully about the next choice you make. No one can tell you how many friends you'll lose or how many nights your honesty will echo without reply. But in that echo, something different is waiting, a question that won't leave you alone. At first, it whispers only at night, when you're too tired to defend the old narrative. The question becomes hauntingly simple. What am I without these obligations, without the roles that shielded me? For a while, silence is your answer. You stare at your phone, resisting the urge to apologize for changing. You notice who drifts away and who steps closer, cautiously, not sure how to greet this person you're revealing. In the light of day, your anxiety peaks, then dips, then peaks again. Unsteadiness fills every conversation. At work, you reject one pointless meeting after years of nodding through discomfort. In your relationship, you finally admit you need something different, or maybe less, or much more. It feels both reckless and necessary, a leap into territory no one mapped ahead for you. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, he reflects on the cost of this shift. The word happiness would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Loss is not just collateral damage here, it's the requirement for making room inside your life. Something has to leave so something else can move in. The pressure to justify your withdrawals, your new boundaries, mounts. Friends question your motives. Family labels it a phase or crisis. Yet you start to recognize a strange power blooming in your refusal. A day comes when you say no aloud and nobody storms out. Another day, you say yes because you want to. No resentment, no keeping score. These moments are tiny, but together, they begin to alter your center of gravity. The constant vigilance, that old exhaustion, lifts slightly. Breath begins to come easier when you're not rehearsing every sentence to avoid conflict. Sometimes the relief is subtle. You sleep deeper. You laugh quicker. You catch yourself humming in the morning. Suddenly you realize the world did not end. Here's the part your regrets never told you. You have survived the absence of things you thought you could not live without. The emptiness they leave behind is not a vacuum, it's fertile ground. If you wait long enough, you might feel a new hunger, not just for ease, but for a kind of truth that cannot be forced. The boundaries you draw become the outlines of the self you're finally able to inhabit. No longer camouflaged by expectation, your disappointments sting less, your joys feel sharper. Is it lonely sometimes? Of course. But loneliness born of honesty beats belonging purchased with self-betrayal. Look closely at the moments you were most drained. Were you ever truly seen there or just tolerated? That distinction becomes impossible to ignore once you taste real freedom. This is where the philosopher's old warning finds its edge. What once felt like selfishness was, in truth, a first tremor of self-respect. You begin to realize what your fear was hiding, the potential to build an inner life that endures when approval doesn't. In relationships, real intimacy only starts when you both stop pretending you're not tired. A friend who can hear your no without vanishing is rarer than gold. At work, you notice your best contributions come not from obligation, but from the spark you tend in private. Resentment fades, not because the world grows easier, but because you have become less willing to perform for survival. This is the moment that divides the past from everything after. What drained you was never inevitable, only familiar. The refusal to keep playing along is not drama. It's a form of awakening. That awakening isn't always beautiful. It can mean months of confusion, years of recalibrating your compass. But it is yours, and it is real, especially when uncertainty creeps in. Maybe you're asking now, if you allow yourself to leave what drains you, what will remain? In The Undiscovered Self, this question is transformed. Every human life contains a potentiality that first seeks to realize itself. Here, the refusal to tolerate is no longer just a rejection, it's an invitation. An uncertain, trembling invitation to discover the possibility of becoming more than what you were forced to endure. The urge to withdraw is not retreat, but reset. It is the vital pause before a new beginning. Something essential in you only learns to speak after the old noise subsides. The relationships that survive this period are the ones that glow brighter for having endured your honesty. Your work may shift, maybe even collapse, but whatever emerges has the texture of something lived, not tolerated. It's easy to mistake this for selfishness, but the cost of constant endurance is always greater than the discomfort of starting over. If you need proof, pause right now. Remember a time you let go of an obligation that bled you dry. Notice that you're still here, breathing, rearranged, but not erased. This is the risk and the reward. Letting go of what drains you opens up a kind of capacity you never thought you'd reclaim. When you stop tolerating, you don't shrink your world. You finally make room to fill it. And so, the final question lingers. What are you willing to risk to discover what waits for you once you stop pretending? What are you willing to risk to discover what waits for you? Letting go can be your rebirth. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and comment below. What essential part of yourself have you been neglecting?